Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I'm deeply honored to accept this African Lifetime Achievement Award. I want to thank all of you, particularly the Management Committee of the African Heritage Awards, for selecting me for this distinction. My schedule prevented me from joining you in Marrakesh this weekend, but I could not be more enthusiastic about the AfriHeritage platform and its goal of reshaping the global narrative around our continent, its people, and our prospects. As Chinua Achebe said, and I quote, "If you don't like someone's story, write your own." Receiving this award is humbling 2 times over. First, because I'm walking in the footsteps of such distinguished personalities, including my former boss, Nigerian President Dr. Goodluck Ebele Jonathan. And second, because receiving recognition for contributions to the lives of people in Africa and around the world serves as a reminder of how long the road ahead of us remains. In recent decades, the world has made unprecedented progress on poverty reduction. As Director General of the World Trade Organization, I have to point to the key role played by open and predictable global markets in enabling poor countries to use trade to accelerate growth and job creation. Over 1.5 billion people have been lifted out of extreme poverty. But Africa has lagged behind. While the share of the global population living on less than $2.15 per day has fallen from 38% in 1990 to less than 9% last year, that decline in sub-Saharan Africa has been more modest, from 55% to 36%. 2/3 of the world's extremely poor people now live in sub-Saharan Africa. Both globally and in Africa, development momentum has stalled since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic 5 years ago. The World Bank has warned that this will be a lost decade for poverty reduction. It estimates that only 69 million people will escape extreme poverty by the end of this decade. Over 7% of the world population, most of them in Africa, are on track to still be living on less than $2.15 a day by 2030, a far cry from the Sustainable Development Goal of ending extreme poverty by then. Moreover, the continent has been especially vulnerable to shocks, economic, environmental, and political. The pandemic dealt a severe setback to growth. The war in Ukraine worsened food and fertilizer price inflation, hurting both food security and agricultural production. Rising interest rates in advanced economies have raised debt service burdens and put pressure on public investment in health, education, and infrastructure. Climate stresses continue to increase. According to the World Bank, sub-Saharan Africa has the largest share of people at high risk from extreme weather events, since people's limited resources mean little cushion to recover from losses. And finally, in recent weeks, the external environment for trade, and certainly for African exports, has become much less supportive, even as donor governments have severely cut back overseas development aid budgets. The United States has raised tariffs on African exports, even if the highest duties have now been paused. Meanwhile, aid for all intents and purposes is practically over. To improve the lives and livelihoods of people across the continent, we will need to look inwards, and we are very capable of doing that. To improve the mobilization of our own domestic resources and make our economies more attractive for investment. We also need to trade more across Africa and in the wider global south. Luckily, at the WTO, we are negotiating an agreement on investment facilitation for development, which when finalized will help our members, including African countries, to lower barriers to investment, domestic, regional, and foreign investment. Attracting more investment and welcoming global value chains to the continent would also respond to current pressures to decentralize production networks currently concentrated heavily in East Asia, so as to reduce risks and build global resilience. Chances are good for Africa to attract investment in agro-allied industries, including textiles and leather, as well as in pharmaceuticals, critical minerals, and clean energy. If African countries can successfully exploit their abundant green energy potential to power this new industrial activity, the continent can leverage green comparative advantage, delivering for people and the planet. The time to act is now. In every crisis, there's an opportunity, and I think the continent should seize the opportunity of the present global crisis to turn things around, looking inwards and trying to mobilize our own resources. To make this work, we will need to do our homework. African firms currently face the world's highest trade costs, 40% higher on average than those in high-income economies, with costs for intra-regional trade that are 20% more than those for trade with external partners. This is not a recipe for the value addition and increased trade that we need. I have seen how trade can be a tool for empowering marginalized people and groups. Targeted supply-side support can help women shea butter producers in Nigeria or spice farmers in the Comoros break through barriers and succeed in export markets, resulting in higher incomes. Trade in digitally delivered services can create job opportunities for educated young people from Dakar to Durban. In sum, ladies and gentlemen, international trade and investment can help Africans write a better story for ourselves. I really see opportunity for us in this crisis, and I hope we will seize it. Thank you so much for this award, and I wish you the very best for this weekend and the future.